Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from when you're watching this video. John from IT Skills Academy, and here we continue creating the portfolio website. And last time we worked on this specific admin dashboard here, and so in today's video we are going to see how can we be able to add data into the database. Remember, we also created the database and we connected to the database as well. So we have now a connection to the database. If you have not watched that, I would recommend that you watch the previous video. I have these in a playlist, so you'll be able to easily follow along. So now we are on the education.html page, and at this point now we need to change the extension from HTML to PHP, and that's what we are going to do right away. So I'm just going to go back to my IDE here, and on the Explorer I'll head on to the education, and I'll just need to rename it, and here just remove the HTML and add PHP. So now that's the very first thing, even before you write any PHP code. So let me just close this one so that we just concentrate on the education.php. Now you'll also notice that we are going to miss it here, like we're not going to see it because now we were running on a live server which was supporting HTML, but now we have changed the extension. So what I can do now is I can just close that, and now I need to type a localhost because now this specific website is locally hosted using XAMPP. So I'm going to type localhost / portfolio _ tutorial, and here I'm going to navigate to education.php. Yeah, so we experienced that error. It's like we are not connected to the internet because I have not started the XAMPP live server. So what I can do is just search it here, XAMPP. So here it is, XAMPP control panel. So we can click on it to start it. The live server opens here, and all we need to do is to hit on the start. These two should turn green before we proceed on. So we should also have this the PIDs and also the port numbers. So see, now we are running into a problem there. So all I can do is to try it again. Sometimes that may not fix the problem, and you might need to explore more options to see how you can be able to fix that issue. So now you see we have the port numbers. It could be the reason as to why you're having errors is the ports are blocked, and maybe you need to see how you can fix that. So these two running now, we can refresh. Not yet. Status change detected. So we're having an issue here. As you can see, they're saying this may be due to a blocked port, missing dependencies. I don't know because I've not changed anything. Or could be, sorry, this is not now an issue with that, it's the issue with the path, I think. So give me a minute as I try to see if we're able to see any other file. Yeah, that could be the issue. It's the path. So need to navigate to education. So this should be the path. Oh, here we have HTML, but we have just renamed that to PHP. Oh yeah, so this should be the path. So this is what we should have typed instead. So now it therefore means that XAMPP is working properly. As you can see, the ports here, these are green. Even if these errors appear here, don't worry, so long as these two are in green, and your website should be working. So now now that that has been fixed, the next thing that I've done off the camera is having this dialogue, and I'm just going to explain to you what I did so that you're not like confused. So I'm going to find that specific button here. So this is the button that you're seeing there, the red one, which has the name, and we will just show you this add button. So it is this one here, and of course we have it with those classes that makes it to be styled the way it is styled. And then it has this specific attribute, the data target, which is targeting update hyphen form. And if we try to look at that update below here, below the footer, I have created that specific form. So this is the whole form that we are trying to target. Is basically a form, a HTML form, and that is the specific form that we are trying to target. And you'll notice that it has the ID of update. It has the ID of update, and so therefore we are able to target it using that specific ID. And of course now we have the link to the JavaScript. Of course, don't worry, because once you download this specific dashboard, admin dashboard, all of these will be intact to be available there. So but just for your understanding, this is the line that is helping us to with the model. So yeah, and of course now I just modified the form to just fit my needs here, because I decided to just use that specific dashboard just to save us some time. And so now going back here, you see now we have that working like that, and I have this named as update education form. We have the data that we'll be collecting, so it will be the name and the level, and here we'll be able to submit. If we change our mind, we can just cancel it over there. So I would also like to open the database, so localhost, and let me try to just get it through this, so that way when we add the details, we're able to see if they appear on the database. So this specific point, I just need to go to the portfolio and the portfolio tutorial. So this is where we have all the tables that we require, and one of it now being the education, as you can see it here. So we just need to have it open there, just for the purpose of us seeing if the data has been inserted or not. So now let's get back here, and so what we are going to do is we are going to go to the form opening tag. I have removed all the attributes so that we can add them one by one here and get to understand. So one of the attributes that we need is the method. So this one is usually the method that we are going to use to pass the information, because we are using the form to collect the information, and this information we want it to be passed from one place to another. In our case here, we're going to pass it from this page, education.php, and we're going to move it to another page, and then it's from that page that it will now be added to the database. So the method that we are going to use will be called post. So this is the method that I would recommend because it's the safest method of passing information. So the method itself is post, so it passes the information via the HTTP, so the hypertext transfer protocol. So now after that we also need another attribute called action. So this one is now going to contain the target, like where we are going to set that information. So in this case we are going to have this going to includes. I'll be showing you this. So includes and we're going to have education and .php. so this is a page that we don't have already, and so we are going to add that. So we're going to open the Explorer here, and just a minute, if I may try to just close a few things here. And you notice that previously we had created the includes folder, which for now it only has the con.php. So we are now going to include the and.php. So just add it here. And of course now you expect that to be empty. So that will be our target. And before we get to that specific page, the other thing that we need to do is we need to check the submit, because when you're dealing with the data, sending it from one point to another, you need to have a button. So this is the button that a person will be clicking now to take action on, like, oh, I've already fed all the data and now I want it submitted. So there should be a button that a person should click, and for our case this is the button here. And for this specific button it should have the following attributes. The first one is type, so it should have a type of submit, and most importantly it should also have a name. Can give it any name, but most commonly you'll find the submit. Yeah, and that's it. So this is just for the styling, over there. So this is the one that is very, very important. The name, it should be submit, and the type, it should be submit. Okay, the type should be submit, but this one can be any name. Okay, but this one should be of the type submit. For this one, if you decide to use a different name, I'm going now to show you what you should follow that with. Now that that is done, if we go back to the admin here, we try to see that. So we have these two, very important, and we have the submit. Nice. So what I can do is I can try to test that, and to be able to test that, I'm going to get back to the edu and.php, and I'm going to just add some PHP here. So how I usually do it is I have that I go bracket and then 2 question marks, and then inside that I can have the PHP, so that now I have the opening and the closing tag. At this specific point we might not need the closing PHP tag, because we are not going to have any HTML below it, so we can just remove it. But if you're going to add any HTML below that, then you need to have the closing PHP tag. Alright, so now what I can do is I'm going to use the if statement, and I'm going to use this to test whether that submit button was clicked. In fact, I'm just going to use those specific terms. So for the condition, I'm going to say if the button is set. So in fact I'm going to say is set, that specific button, and I'm going to have the two opening brackets there, and in between them I'm going to first of all have the method that I'm calling here, and I'm going to talk about post because that's the method that I'm using in that specific form. And here I'm now going to target the name of the button that will be clicked, or that I'm expecting that should be clicked, and I'm going to call that, and of course this should be in single quotes, submit. So if you give this a different name, if you give the button a different name here, so that's the same name that you should come and use here, because that's like what you're targeting. Yeah, so and because I called my my button submit, that's why you can see me having this submit over there. So that's all that you need on top there. So you're saying if this method is set and the button, so basically what you're saying is if the button is clicked, then do something. So and that thing that should be done, we're going to have it down here. So that's the specific code, and for now we're just going to test things here. So I can just say echo, and here I can say I clicked. I always try to do that just to test, to see if things are working. So come back here and refresh, open, and hit submit. So it tells us that this page does not exist, not found, so we have a broken path there. So admin includes and do. Okay, so let's see that, because I think we added it here. Yeah, so I see what you have to do. You have to get out of the dist folder. So step out, and let's now try that one more time. Refresh, and you can see here it says I was clicked. That means now we have those two pages connected successfully. So now all that I usually do now after that is to just come here and comment that out. Now before we write any PHP, let's go back to the education.php, and we need to go to the input, this input field here, because we need a specific attribute which is this name. So you need to have every input with a name, and that name is like the one that will be carrying the specific data for that specific input. So whatever is going to be typed in that box is going to be carried by the name that you're going to include here. In this case I have a name as a name because I'm expecting to put a name of that specific education level or something, but in your case it might be different, or you might still use this. So use any name so long as you have them consistently, and by saying consistently, this means that this name that you're going to have here is the name that you have in the table that you have in the database, as you can see it here, and it is the same name that we are going to use here when we are trying to get that information from that form. Yeah, so we have the name there, and we also having the level. That is another field. This is another input field, so we're having the name be equal to level. Okay, so that's again very, very important. If you don't have this attribute, then your PHP will not work. You'll not be able to collect any information from that specific form. So this is very important. This is important. This is important, and finally this, in fact these two. very important, okay, if anything is to work. Now after that, the next thing that I want to do is to collect that information now, because I'm expecting that the user is going to fill that form and hit submit. So I need to collect that information that they have typed. So I can say name is equals to, and here, because we used the post method, I'm still going to use it here. And how I do it, basically, let me just try to put it in simple terms here so you're able to get it. So we are saying that when this submit button is clicked, we should be doing something, okay? And because we already have this specific method here, it means we are able to collect all the information from that specific form. So what we can do is we can grab this specific line here, okay, grab that, and we can come down here and paste it, and all I can do is to change these to whatever piece of information I want from that specific form. So for example, I can say name, okay? So here and of course I can have that added with a semicolon. So now here I already have the name of whoever fed this specific form. So but I cannot use this code as it is, so all I need to do is to store this in a variable. So I'm just going to say is equals, and I'm going to create a variable, and simply I can call it name, okay? So I'm saying that we have the name here, but because I cannot use it, I cannot use this code as it is, I'm storing that information here, okay? I'm storing that information in a variable, and now this variable I can be able to reuse it in my code here, okay, as it is here. And I'm also going to do the same with the level, so just duplicate that there. And for the level, remember we call it level, so I need to still have it with the same name, level, and like that. Okay. So I have that information there. So for example, if I come and say echo, and I try to echo maybe the variable name, have that saved, and I come back here, I refresh, and I try to have a name and hit submit. We're having an error. So it says syntax error, unexpected token is equals in that. Okay. Let's see. Oh, sorry, we should not have the equals. We should just say echo. Sorry, just say echo. So try that one more time. Have that refreshed, and there we can say diploma and submit, and we have the diploma there. That now means that we are able to collect the information and store it in that variable, so we can now be able to use it for whatever reasons we want. Okay, so now we can have that there, and now that we have the information collected from the form in our hands here, we can now do whatever we want to do with it. And at this specific point, what we want to do with it is we want to insert it into the database. And so to be able to do that, I'm going to create the insert statement. So I can create a variable. I'm going to call that variable SQL, and I can say is equals to. So basically, again, let me start from behind. So we're going to have the what? We're going to have the insert statement, insert, and we're going to have that being inserted into the table education. I have already shown you that table, and what we're now going to do is we're going to say the information should be inserted into this specific column. So I'm going to say set. So I'm like specifying how the information will be distributed in the form, like this will go into this column, this is going to go into this column. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to have the column name. So I'm going to say name is equals to, so this name is the name of the column. Okay, so like let me just show you here. So I'm now referring to this specific name, and I'm saying that in that specific column store the information in this variable. So in single quotes comma the variable, because we already have the name in that variable, so I can just say name. Okay, and I'm also going to have the other one, sorry, level, like that is equals to for this one, because it's the last one, I don't need to put a comma at the end, so this one will be level. Okay, so and of course now here I should add this with a semicolon. So we can still have this as it is, but we need to test whether this worked, and because we cannot refer to all of these, or we will not be required to type all of these to test it. What I can do, or what is done, is storing all this information in a variable, so that way we'll be able to like reference all of these by just using this single word. Okay, so because we need to test whether the information was indeed inserted, so that we can even alert the user that, oh yeah, the information was inserted correctly, or we encountered an error and this is the error and all that. So we need now to have that information stored there. And now to be able to test that, we're going to use the MySQLi query. So I'm going to say MySQLi underscore query, and this one is going to take the following arguments. One is the connection to the database. We've already forgotten that we have not connected to the database, which is the first thing that we should do, but we're going to do that. And so the first thing that we are testing there is the connection to the database, and two, we are also testing whether this statement worked, whether the information was inserted. So the first thing is to test the connection. If the connection is broken, of course we are not even going to go to this. We're just going to tell the user that, oh, we are unable to connect to the database, or something similar to that. But if the connection to the database is done successfully, then we are going to get to this to see whether while the connection to the database worked, was this information inserted into this specific table as we had instructed. So now that we have that, we can have that with a comma there, or semicolon. And again, because we need to check this, we are going to have this stored in a variable. So we're just going to say, or call these results, or release. Okay. And just to make things simple at this specific level, what we can do now down here is to have the if statement, and we are going to test and we're going to echo something depending on what is the result. Okay, depending on the outcome here, we are going to tell the user something. So what we can do, instead of telling the user anything here at this specific point, we can just redirect the user to a specific page. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a header, and this is the page where they will be taken once the information has been inserted successfully. So here we are going to talk about application, and here we're going to take them out of the end-to-end app, and we are going to take them back to education.php, and else they will be taken back to the same. So maybe I can just grab this and have it here. But now what will be the difference is when they get there, they need to see a message, and that message now we can add it on top here. But now this one is going to require a session. But before we get there, let's see whether this is working first. So we already know that we forgot to add the connection to the database, and remember in our previous video we created the con.php, so this one which has the connection to the database. So instead of typing all of these again, what we can do is we can require this specific file here. So I'm going to come on top here and say require, and here we are going to require the con.php. So now that should be okay. So we can now try and see if that is working as we expect. So come back here, go back to education, refresh, and here we are going to try to add this one should be ICT, and this one now should be maybe degree, and submit. Alright, so you can see something happened. We are just seeing connected successfully. This is because maybe we had the connection to the database code. We did not fix that, but let's first of all see if the information was inserted, because that's the main aim here. The redirection is not quite important. Yeah, this is what is important. You can see the information was inserted. Okay, now to fix this specific issue, I need to get to the con, because I think that connection is the one that we need to fix, because if the connection is successful, we don't need to tell the user at this specific juncture. So what I can do is just get rid of this else. So it only says if the connection did not happen, die, and then we have the information. But once the connection is successful, we just continue with doing what is necessary at that specific point. We only show the message to the user once we are unable to connect to the database, and so we can test that by having another. So and we can talk about app design at degree level, submit. Yeah, so that one is gone, but now we have this photo error, and they're talking about that being in line 15 on our edu app. So get to the edu app. Here, yeah, we did not add the condition. Sorry, we did not add the condition, which should be tested for us to be able to redirect the user accordingly. So all we can do is we are going to test whether this result is equals to true. So if it is equals to true, it means this and this worked successfully. Else it will be false, to mean that one of these did not work. So here within the condition, we are going to remove that, and we are going to have less is equals, not equal to, but is equals to true. So test that one more time. Remember, the information is being inserted, only that the direction is one that is having an issue. So if I come here, I should be able to see the second record there. Yeah, so it means the information is being inserted, only that the direction is having an issue. So so the direction is now happening, but now the path is long, so we need to fix the path here. So it should get out of the includes, and to get to the education, it needs to get to the list. So this is just my file path. Yours might be different. I just need to understand the location of the file that you're getting back to. In my case, I think it should be like that. And let me just do it one more time. So from on top here we say and as you can see now, successfully we are redirected back here. So at this specific point, of course, we expect to see a message. We don't expect it to be this quiet, but we can just try to see. Yeah, and we have that there. So what we can do at this specific point is maybe to display the message. I may show you how you can be able to do that. So what we are going to do is we are going to require to use a session. So this is like going to sort of track what is happening. So we need to, for us to be able to use the session, we need to have it started on both pages. So we need to have it here, and we also need to have it here. So let me just do that. So to start a session, just say a session underscore start, like that. And now down here on top of the header, we are going to now create the session, and this is how we create the session. We just say $sign underscore session. So it's going to have it in caps, and here we are going to have the session name. This should be in quotes, and we can call it update. You can give it in the name, of course, update edu. That's the name I'm going to give it. And now this will be equal to, so this is the message that should be there, and I'm going to have that in single quotes. And inside here I'm going to have some HTML. So I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to style things a little bit here. So I have the items flex having a PY of 4, justified at the center. We're having an issue because we should not have two of this, so this should be single, this should be single because you already have double here. So we're just styling that a little bit. Maybe we can also have it with a background color. Maybe we can talk about BG green, and the text being white. Yeah, and that's about it. Yeah, and so now here we can have the message, so we can say data inserted successful. Yeah, we can have it, just have it like that. And then if that did not happen, maybe there was an issue or something, we will be redirected to the same page, but now the message will be different. Sorry, inserted. And maybe the information could be failed. Okay, maybe we can tell them please try again. Okay, so that should be the message. If this is not equal to true, so if it is equals to false, we get this. If it's equals to true, we get this. So this one we can maybe have it with a different name. Maybe we can talk about, of course you need to give it a nice name. Maybe I can call it fail, so something like that. And so now it's time to test that. So computer science degree. Oh, sorry. One of the other things that we need to do is, you see here we started the session, so we also need to come here and start the session as well. Almost forgot that. So I should come on top here and have some PHP, and here, because we have some HTML below that, we need to close that, and so we just need to have the session started. And so now all we need to do is now to select or determine where the message should be displayed. Let me say where we should have that. Let's have it below the button and yeah, so maybe we can have it here. So we're going to have the PHP, of course, and now what we need to do is to use the if statement, and I'm going to say if is set, and we're going to test if the session was indeed set. So if it's set, and then I'm going to call the session name. Remember, we had it like this, and it therefore means it's a global a global variable, so we can use it anywhere. And so I will come and have the name. I think I called it update edu, if I'm not wrong. Update edu. Let me just try to copy and paste it, that way I'm quite sure. And now here I'm going to have the code, and basically what I'm just going to do is to echo the message that I wrote. So I'm going to have the variable again, and now the name. So basically it's like I'm echoing this. So I'm saying if this was set, echo it. So I can even just grab that like so, and of course now a semicolon. And now we need that message to disappear once we refresh the page, because we don't want to have the message there always. So what I can do is now to unset that, and to unset we just replace this with unset. And the other thing that we'll also do is to have whatever we are unsetting in brackets like that. So that will be for the success message, and I'll also need the same for the fail. So this will be shown once there is success, and this will be shown once it fails. So fail, and so therefore I'm going to replace these as well. Yeah, like that. So let's test that. Testing time. So refresh, and here we and what else? Hey, I think I've added all of them. UX, UI design. Sorry for the noise. Submit. Yeah, and we are having that, only that the styling is not working, but that's not quite important so long as we are able to see the message. We're able to see the message over there. Yeah, so the only thing that we now need to fix is this one here, so that maybe this one has a px of or let's just have them with a padding of 4. Yeah, so that's not as important. So that's working fine. So the other thing that we can do now here is to get the information, because now you can see we already have that information in the database, but we are not seeing it here because we should see it over here. So what we need to do is we need to go back to the education.php. So just a minute. So getting to the education, and we close this, and also close this as well. So here in the education, I just need to head on to the table. So the table, we have it here, and we need to target the T body. Just a minute. Looks like yeah, we're having an issue here. This should just be 1, like so. So the T body like that. So now let me even have it here. And I knew it will not work because I can already see an issue somewhere. So these 2 T bodies. Okay. Alright. Visual Studio cannot allow me to hide it there. I needed to hide it, but no problem. Let me just have it organized like that. Alright, just putting some things in order there. So now here we need to have the PHP. I'm going to have it within the body, or just above the body. So PHP and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this body with PHP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this PHP closing tag, and I'm just going to have it below the T body, so something like that. And now what that will happen, or what will happen, as you can see, this HTML will be invalid, so to speak, like it will not work as it is. And so what I usually try to do is just get rid of it. Let me just show you the simpler way, and I just have it on top here. And I'm also going to have yet another PHP closing tag there, and below here I'm also going to have now the opening. So therefore so now we have the opening and closing PHP tag, and we have the closing PHP tag here, which as of now it's not like working, but we're going to fix that. So let's first of all work on the PHP here, and the first thing that I'm going to do before I forget is to require the connection to the database. So here I'm going to have the con.php, and then I'm going to have the select statement. So that will be select, and we are selecting all from the table education, and we want to set that into, or store that in a variable that will be called SQL. You can give it any name, of course. And then after that we want to test whether the two worked, whether this one and the connection to the database are working. So we're going to use the MySQLi _ query. So this I'm testing the con, and I'm also testing the SQL, and to be able to reuse that anywhere I want, I'm going to store all that, or the results of that, in a variable called results. Don't forget to close that. Now to be able to test or to act based on the result that I get for these two, I'm going to use the if statement. So if and let me start with the result again before I forget. So I'm testing whether the result, in this case I'm going to say if it is equal to true, unlike the previous one. So is equal true. So I'm equating this to this, okay, while the other one I was setting this to this. So now here I'm going to have the code, and the first thing that I'm going to do to be able to understand if there are any records is to use the count. I'm going to count because at this specific point I don't want to redirect the user. All I want to do is to tell the user whether we have any records in that specific table, because what they are doing on top here, or what is required, is the information, because we are saying select or get all from the education table. Okay, so we are now assuming that the connection to to the database happened successfully, and this one also happened successfully. So that's why we are saying if it is true. Okay, so if it is true, now we should be able to get the information. But even before we get the information, we need to see, do we have any information in this table? And so to be able to do that, we are going to use the this one should be in small. So MySQL I_num rows. So basically what this does is it counts the rows in the specific table. Remember, the rows in a table usually indicates records or represents records. So we now want to count rows, because if we don't have any information in a table, we don't have a row, and if we have any row, then we have some information. So that's why we are counting the rows, and we are of course calling this because it's one that contains the information that is going to help us to do the counting of the rows. It's the one that is going to help us to do the connection to the database, and of course now do the counting. So I'm going to set that to be equal to, because I need to again reuse that count, so that now inside here I'm going to have a nested if statement, so like that. So therefore here I'm going to say, or have the condition as if the count is greater than 0. So if the count is greater than 0, it means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1000 records, or more than one, or at least one. And so if it is greater than 0, it means we have some information, and so now we need to collect this information. So to be able to do that, I'm going to use the while. I'm going to use the while loop, because now I need to get all the information. I need to go around the whole table collecting the information. This is important because even when new records are added, we are able to get them courtesy of this while loop. So the variable will be equal to rows. Of course, you can even call it row, and I'm going to set that to be equal to, now here I'm fetching the records. So in fact, if we do it our way, it's like we are saying we want to fetch the information from this table, because we've already seen that we have one row, and one row means we have some records, 2 rows means we have some records, 3 rows means we have some records, 0 rows means we don't have any. So we are assuming that we have more than one, or at least one, and so we are now fetching this information by saying fetch, and here we are going to use the ASOC, and of course these will take this argument here, or results, and so now we need to again reuse that again. So we need to set that to be equal to, or store that in a variable. You can call it anything. I'm assuming that I'm going to have several rows, or I'm just going to call it rows, but you can give it any name, because now you'll be using that name now to reference this. So now here the code, now we are now assuming that we already have the records, and now the records are stored in this variable. All the records have been fetched by this method here, and they have been stored here. So now what I can do is that I can say the records that you have stored. So for example, rows, I already know that that's where I have the records, but now here I want to be specific on the record that I want, and so I'm going to specify that by saying that I need the ID, okay, like that. And now because I cannot use this, okay, I can use it, but it might be complex a little bit, so to make my life easier, I can have this stored in a variable called ID, because that's the piece of information that I want, and so it determines the name that I'm going to use. And other than the ID, I also need the name, and I also need the level. Okay, so therefore I can just come and rename that to name, rename that to name, and rename that to level. Yeah, so something like that. And that's it. All I now need to do is these closing curly brackets, I need to grab them. Okay, I need to grab all of this, so like so that I have them below the T-body, and in that case I'll have wrapped this HTML within the PHP. So I'm going to come down here, and this is where I'm going to have it, but of course I cannot just have it there. I need to have it within PHP. So again, PHP. So you notice that I have a opening and closing PHP tag, and on top here I have this opening and closing. But now here within that I'm having this code, and now within here I'm going to have this code. So I have this, and I have this like that, and then now in between that now I'm having my HTML, and as it is right now it's almost done. In fact, if we come here and try to refresh that, you're having an issue. 230, there is the equals 230. Here, or require, we don't need that, sorry, I'm overusing the equals. Yeah, so that's working fine, but now we have an issue with the path, like we have been doing since we started. We are unable to get to the includes or get the connection to the database, because we should get out of this list folder, because the includes is in the admin folder. So yeah, that's fixed, but still now we have the issue here. MySQLi, that is on line 232. 232 here should be MySQLi. What is wrong with that? Oh, sorry. Here we just said select all, and we need a very important term here, from. Select all from. So that was what was missing. Yeah, and that's now working fine. As you can see, we are now having this specific line repeated the number of times equal to the number of records that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we come here, 1, 2, 3, 4, plus now of course the static one that we have. So that is this one. Okay, so now all I can do just to fix all of that, so whenever you see that, it means you're in the right direction. So all I can do now here is to come and echo that. So this should be PHP, and I can say echo, and I'm going to of course now echo this, so this variable. So here echo that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so like that, and the same thing here, grab that and echo that. So if that is to be saved, then I should be able to see that information. So ICT level, so we're having an issue somewhere. I don't know why we should have this true ICT design up design. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so it should be, that needs to be renamed. Yeah, so ICT degree up brown. Yeah, and that's working fine. Well, the next thing that you're going to do now that we have the records from the database is to edit them. To do that, we're going to use this button. So we'll get back to Visual Studio and get to this specific anchor tag. And here we're just going to come and edit this specific attribute so that we can add the path to this specific page. So this specific page is the one that contains the form that we're going to use to edit the records, and this is just the HTML part of it. And if I may just take a second to show you that, I can just come on top here and edit that. I'll just edit the path. And this is the specific page, so it just contains the form that has two inputs. So we are just going to edit this. So that now this one is education. Save that, get back to the browser, refresh that, and now we have that part working. So now we need to make sure that when a person clicks on the submit, the records are updated. So to be able to do that, we're going to go back to the education page here. And so here I'm just going to come and type edit edu.php. And that will just take us to that specific page, but we also want to carry the ID of the specific selected record. So to be able to do that, we're going to put a question mark, then have ID, and we're going to say that this is equal to, and now what we're going to do here is we're going to echo the ID. Remember, here we stored the specific ID in this specific variable, so we can be able to just come and call it down here. So what I can do is here I can say is equals to, then I have a PHP, and I'll just say echo ID. And just like that, if we get back to the browser, get back to the education page, and we point at edu, we're going to notice that we have an issue. so we have to fix that. Oh yeah, it's this should be closed there. It's the closing code for this specific attribute. So let me refresh that again, and now we have it fixed. And when I point at this, you notice that down here now we're able to get the ID, and let me just click on it, and we are not able to get the file, but as you can see here we have the specific ID. So let's just fix this. I think there's a typo there, so this should be edit. And now you can see on top here we're able to get to this edit edu.php and be able to get the ID. So let's pick a different record like this, number 3, and now you can see that the ID is number 3, and that means we are only going to see the records for ID number 3. So now it's the high time that we get the records. So going back to the edit edu.php, we want to be able to fetch the records whose ID is 3. So we're going to fetch this from the database from the education table. So to do that, we're going to get to the edit edu.php, and we're going to come on top here, and we're going to use the get method to be able to fetch the records, because what is happening is at this education.php we are passing the ID through the get method. So what we want to do now in the edit edu.php is to be able to get that specific ID. So to be able to do that, from the very top here we are going to write the PHP that we are going to use to get the ID. So let me have the PHP here. And so here we'll first of all require the connection to the database, because we're going to need that later. So here we include core.php, and now we want to be able to get the ID from the education.php. So to be able to do that, we are going to use the if statement, and so here the condition will be if it's set, and this is to mean if a person clicks on the edit button, we should be able to get the ID. So we're going to, as I've mentioned, use the get method, and here the specific record that we need is the ID. And so now we can be able to come and store that ID in a variable, so that we can be able to use it whenever we want. So what I usually do is I just grab this one and I can just paste it there, and I'll just put that closing and now here what I can do is I can now try to echo to see if I'm able to get that ID. So just save that and get back to the browser, get back to the education page, and we can maybe try with the record number 2. I just click on edit, and so we are just having the issue of the path for the con.php, so we can try fix that. Let's see, the con.php, yeah, we have it outside here, so we have to step out like that. So that should be fixed now. And now, as you can see, we have the ID number 2. If we go back and maybe pick this one, you see now it is ID number 3. So we were not able to connect to the con.php because, as you can notice here, the includes folder is outside the dist folder. That's why we had to add this to just get out of this dist folder so that we can get to the admin, and so from the admin we're able to get the includes folder where the con.php file is, which is this one here. Okay, so now that that is clear, we're able to get the ID. Now we can be able to fetch records from the education from the education table based on this given ID that the user has clicked. So to be able to do that, we are going to go to the form. So this is the form here, and as you can notice here, we have the two attributes. We have the method of post that is intact, and we have the action, and the action is now taking us to a different page. So this is now the page that will contain the script that will help us to update. So we have not yet created this, but we'll be creating this in a moment. But this is the specific path where if a person clicks on the submit, they should now be taken to this specific page. But before then, we need to be able to get the records from the database based on the ID. So we are just going to come on top here. Yeah, just below here, and we can have our PHP here. So what we are going to do here first of all is to create a variable called SQL, or rather, let me just do it the simple way. We're going to have the select statement where we're going to say that we want to select all from the education table, and we are doing this where the ID is equals to the ID that we have stored on top there. So basically we are saying that we want to select all the records from the education table where the ID is equals to the ID that we have been given from the education.php. So now all of this is going to be stored in a variable. So here we're going to create a variable called SQL. So we're going to say that this is equal to all of this. So we're going to have this wrapped in quotes like that. So now after that, we want to be able to get the results of that. So to be able to do that, we are going to have the MySQL query. So we have the MySQL query, which take two arguments. One is the connection to the database, and two is to see if the records were indeed selected from the database. So we are having the variable SQL, which is giving us this, and the con, which is giving us the connection to the database. And so we're going to store that in a variable called SQL, all other results. So like that. So the results are stored here, and the result for the connection to the database and the process of fetching data from the database. So now after that, what we now need to do is to test whether the results is equals to true, so that now that way we can be able to fetch the records. So we're going to have an if statement here, and the condition for this is whether the result is equal is equal true. So we are testing whether this is equals to true, and so if it is equal to true, what we are going to do is first of all we are going to count. We are going to count the records that we have from the table, and so to be able to do that, we are going to use the MySQLi num rows, and this is going to take the argument result, which has the SQL, which is helping us to fetch the data. And so now this one we are going to store it in a variable, and the variable will be count. Okay, so now we are able to count by just using this statement. We're able to count the number of rows that has this specific ID, and so now we need to proceed and now say if the count is greater than 0, therefore means that we have some records, and so we can be able to fetch those records. Otherwise, we're just going to tell the user that we don't have any records matching that ID. So we're going to create another if statement. That means this a nested if statement, and so here we are going to say that if the count is greater than 0, so we can now be able to fetch the records, and because we want to get all the records, we are going to use the while loop. So I'm going to have the while, and so here we're going to say that rows, or rather we're going to store the records that we are going to fetch in this variable called rows. So now for that we're going to say that rows is equals to, and to be able to fetch the data, we are going to use the MySQLi underscore fetch underscore assoc. So this is the one that will help us to fetch the records, and we should have it with the variable s, which is testing the connection to the database, and also now giving it the instruction to fetch the data. So now we are fetching the data from the database using the MySQL fetch assoc, and we are storing all the records that we are getting in this specific variable here. So now that we have that, and because we cannot just use this as it is, we need to be able to store this in variables, so that way we can be able to reuse that. So for that, we are going to say, for example, we want to get the rows, or we want to get the row ID basically. So we can say the row ID. So we already have the row ID, but we cannot use this or use this in our code. In fact, it's quite long. So to just make it easy for us, we're going to store all that information in a variable called ID. So now that way this is easier for us, and we can be able to reuse it everywhere or anywhere we want, of course within this specific page. So now that we have the ID, we can now be able to get the other two records that we want, and that is for example the name and we also want the level. So now we have the records there, and so now what we just need to do is to echo them. So to be able to echo them, we're going to echo them within our within the HTML. So what we are going to do is we are going to close this PHP tag there like that, and After that, we're going to come and grab our form. So let me grab it from we're going to grab all of this. And we are going to have it inside here. And before we have it inside there, we are going to open another PHP tag like that, so that now we are having this PHP closing, opening and closing tag, and we are having this PHP code there. And so now we are having the HTML code kind of lapped within the PHP tag. So let me just put this in order. Just a minute. It's a bit disorganized here. That's better. Alright, so now that's looking a bit okay there. We can now try to get back to the browser here and get back to the education page, refresh that, try to pick one of the records, and as you can see now we are not able to get anything, but at least we don't have an error, so it means everything is working fine. So now what we can do is within this input we have this attribute value. So here we can come and echo the specific record that we want, in this case being the name. So we are just going to come here and have the PHP opening and closing tags, and we can be able to echo the variable name, which is this one that we have stored there. So similarly we are also going to have the same for the level. So we're going to go to that specific input field, and in the value we're going to have that as a level. Sorry. Okay, so now that is fine there, we can refresh here, and as you can see we are able to get app design, and here we have degree. If say for example we want to do this UX UI design, we can hit on edit, and here we have UX UI design and degree. So now the next thing is to submit this data into the database. Of course, now this is after updating. For example, maybe you want to change this to diploma, for instance. So now we want to be in a position to click this submit button and the information is updated. So now we need to be able to work on this specific page. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to grab this and I'm going to head on to the includes folder. So this includes here, and I'm going to create this specific file, and basically this will just include the script that will help us to update the database. So here in the edu update inc.php, we're going to have the PHP opening tag. We don't need the closing. We don't need the closing because we don't need any HTML below that. So after that, we're going to have the if statement. So first of all, we're going to test to see if the submit button was clicked. So to be able to do that, we're going to use the if is set, and because the method that we are using to pass the information is the get, so here I'm going to say post. So that is the method that we'll be using to pass the information from the edit edu.php to this specific page here. And that will only happen if the submit button is clicked. And first of all, to be able to test that or whether the submit button was clicked, we can try to say or echo a message. So we can get the browser, refresh that and click on submit, and you can see it says I was clicked, and so it means that is working fine. So we can just comment that out, and now that the submit button is working, we are now assuming that the information is now being passed using this specific method, and it is being stored in an array, an associative array, of course now through the HTTP as I've mentioned. So now we can be able to get that information, but before then let's require the connection to the database. So for this, or in this case, we just need the file name because the file is within the includes folder where we happen to be. Okay, so now that we have the information in this array, we can be able to store it in different variables so that we can be able to easily use it. So what I'm just going to do is to grab that array or grab that line, and then I'm going to have the specific records that I need. So I need the ID, and so I'm going to store that in a variable so that way it's easier for me to use that. And so now I also need the name and the level. So remember, this is the information that I've collected using the edit edu.php page. So the information passed from this or from here to here, and I'm now storing it in the variables here, so that way I'll be able to insert it or update the database. So these are the records, and even before I continue again, I can try to echo them, like try to get the ID. I try to get the name, and I also try to get the level. So get to the browser, get back to the edit education, submit, and here we are able to get the ID, the name, and the level. But now we are getting the names themselves. We need the records, so we need to have this in a variable. This should be a variable and not a static name. Yes, so save that, get back here, submit, and now web design and certificate, but we are not able to get the ID. So therefore means that the ID has an issue. So even before we continue, we should fix that. So we're having the ID here. Alright, yeah, sorry. Here we need to have the ID in this specific value, so that way it will be easier for us to pass it. Sorry. So here we need the value, and the value itself will be the ID. So this is the only way that we can be able to get the specific ID for the specific record that we want to edit. So we can be able to pass this to this here. So to be able to do that, let's first of all try to submit. Alright, so we need to get back to the education, so that's how we can grab the ID. Okay, so for example, now if I take this will be ID number 3, so it has been passed here, and we also have it in our form somewhere here hidden. So if I hit on the submit, I'm now able to see the number 3, the web design, and the certificate. So therefore means that we're able to pass all the records from this specific form using the post method. We're able to pass it here. So therefore now the next step that we need to take is to store this information into the database, and in fact in this case updating. So what I can do is I can have the update statement. So update, and we are updating the table education, and we are going to set the columns as follows. So for the column name in the education table, we want to set that to be equal to name. So this is the specific variable, and we also need the level. So now the information is there. We need to have this being updated where the ID, because we don't want to update all the records, we only want to update the records whose ID the user wants to update. So we can say where ID is equals to ID. And now I'm going to store all these in a variable. So I'm going to have it in quotes like that. Don't forget to close there. And all of these should be stored in a variable called SQL, so that it will be very easy for me to reuse this. In fact, that is the next thing that I want to do, to reuse that, because I want to test to see if the information was in fact updated. So up until this level the information is updated, but I just want to alert the user whether the information was updated or not. And for that I'm going to use the MySQLi query, which is going to take two arguments, that is the con and the SQL. And so I'm going to store that in a variable that I'm going to call results. So therefore I can be able to reuse this again. Now I want to test that, or to see the results of that test. So I'm going to create an if statement, and I'm going to say that if less is equals to true, it therefore means the records were updated. I need to show the user a message that the records were updated successfully. So to be able to do that, I'm going to create a global variable here called a session, and I'm going to call it, you can give it any name. I'm going to call it Endo update success. You can give it any name, and for the message it's going to be in HTML, so I'm going to have it in quotes like so. So that is the HTML, and the message will be just updated successfully. Let's just style this a little bit. So sorry, is equals to should flex, should have a padding of 4, justified at the center, items center. We should have the text being white because the background is green 600. So now we are having that message, but now we need to redirect the user to get back to the education page, the education.php. So to be able to do that, we are going to have a header, and that header is the one that will help us to redirect the user. So that will be, this will be the path, so education.php, and close that. So that is if the result is true, and that is if the information was updated successfully. That is to mean we were able to connect to the database and also update the records. Otherwise, if that did not happen, for whatever reason, maybe the connection to the database or the records were not updated because of some various reasons, we want to tell the user that way. So we can create a variable here, and so we're just going to duplicate that and just name this to fail, and change the message. Maybe we can say fail to try again later. The background can change to red, and we'll still redirect the person to the same page, but now with a different message. So we need to test that, hoping that everything is fine here. So let's try to test that. So we go back to the education page. We try maybe to pick one of the records like this one. We update this to diploma and submit. We are taken back to the education, but the path is somehow broken because we need to, let me see, the education should be in dist. So we need to have the correct path here, so it should be dist dot, /dist /. So the information was updated successfully. Let's just try to see it from the database here. So just refresh it here. And you can see the graphic design has the diploma. So it's only the path that was broken, but let's try with a different one, like this one, the web design. is certificate, we can update that to diploma. So again, or Dingley, let's have it with the Dingley, and then submit, and we are redirected successfully to the education.php, and now the web design is working fine. But now we don't have the message. We need to be able to fix that so that we can be able to see the message. So we can get back to the education, and here we will just need to duplicate this. So for example, I'm just going to pick this. So to be able to do that, I'm just going to come down here, have PHP, sorry, and I'm going to use the if statement. So if and we're going to test to see if any session was created, and so I'm going to call that global session there, and I want this specific session name. Remember, we created this specific session name here, so I will grab that, and I'm going to have it, sorry, in the education, I'm going to have it here like so. So this is the session that I'm going to echo. So in fact, I'm going to grab this, that is, if that was successful, I'm going to echo this here. So echo like that and close it there. We want the message to disappear once the user refreshes the page. So for that to happen, we're going to use the unset, and here we're going to have the same, but now this time now this will be lapped in brackets like that. So that's for the success. We also need one for the fail, so it will be a similar one, PHP, and here we're going to have another if statement, if it's set, and we're going to get the session, and this time now the session name will be this one here. So this will only happen if we have a problem updating the records. Okay, and so now we can echo this one. So I'll just say echo like so, and remove the message once the page is refreshed. So for that, again, we're going to have the brackets, and we're going to have that. And so just like that, that should be working. Remember, for that to work, you need to start the session on both pages. So the session is started in the education.php, and so we also need to start the session in the update inc.php. So I'm going to come on top here and start the session. So we can try to update one, maybe like this, the graphic design. We update that to degree submit, and we're able to get the updated successfully. Only that the styling is not working, but that's not a big issue for now. Yeah, these specific styles could be because of this path or something. Yeah. Well, now that is working fine over there, the next thing that we need to do is to delete. Maybe for the styling, let me see if we can try to, let's try to have the tailwind CDN here. Well, to be able to fix this, maybe let me just try to have the tailwind CDN, so I can get to the tailwind official website. Yeah, and that's working fine. So therefore we can just have it like that. Once we refresh it, of course, now you'll notice that it just disappears. So now the next thing that we can do is to delete the records. So to be able to delete the records on the education.php, we're going to get to the delete. So that should be somewhere down here. So this anchor tag here, and so we're just going to add a path here. Should be a path to a file that is going to include the script that's going to help us delete. So I'm just going to ensure that I'm safe here. I'm going to grab this and have it here, but now this time loud. This one, instead of edit, it will be delete. So it should be delete. So this is the page that we now need to work on. Remember, when we click on this link, we're also going to carry the ID. So using the get method, we'll be able to get the ID, which we are going to pass it to this specific page. So I'm going to create a new file in the includes, and this is the name of the file. And here again we have the PHP, and the first thing that I'm going to do is to start the session. This is because, of course, we'll need to have those messages, success messages and all that. So the session is thereby started, and I'm also going to require the connection to the database. So con.php, and now after that we can now test to see if the submit, if the anchor tag was clicked, that link to delete the record. So if it was clicked, so we're going to test that using the if set, and we are now going to get the ID whose record the user wants to delete. So we are going to get that using the get method. And so if that was done, therefore we can try to echo, maybe it was clicked. Let's just try to test that, just so that we ensure that we are safe. So refresh that, hit on delete, and you can see we having that problem. That's because we did not have the includes here. Yeah, this should be includes, which is outside the list. So it should be like that. So let's test it. Yeah, you can see that's working fine. It was clicked. So therefore now we can get to that delete. We can comment that out. First thing we want to do is to get the ID. So down here, as usual, we are now going to have the delete statement. So this should be delete, and we are deleting this from the education table, and this is where the ID is equals to the ID that we have installed on top there. Right, so now of course now this one should be stored in a variable. So that means we're going to create a variable here, and as usual we are going to call it SQL. So now that means that statement itself is going to delete the data from the database, and so now we need to just have some sort of message telling the user that the information was deleted as requested. And so for us to be able to do that, we're going to have the MySQLi statement. So MySQLi underscore query, sorry, it is MySQLi query, and of course this is going to take the con, that is the connection to the database, and it is also going to take the variable SQL. And so again, all of this should be stored in a variable called results. So now we are testing this too, and so now we want to get the results, and so we can use the if statement, where we will be testing if result is equals to true. So if it is equals to true, therefore means that the information was inserted successfully, otherwise it was not. So because we want to get a message in the education .php page, what we're going to do is we're going to have the session, and we're going to give these a name. Maybe we can call it delete success, and so this will be equal to, we're going to have the HTML, and so now here we're just going to style this a little bit, so we can give it the following classes. One should flex UI of 4, we should have a BG of green, the items should be justify center, and the items center text should be white, and we are going to, that should be enough. So we can say deleted. So that will be the message, and so now we need to redirect the user. So in that case, we're going to talk about the header, which is going to have a location, and so we should get out of the includes folder, get into the dist folder, and here we are going to find education.php. So similarly, if the information was not deleted successfully, so else we are going to have the d fail, and so here we're going to say fail to delete. Try again, and here we're going to change this BG from green to red. In fact, this should be 600, this one should be 600. Be sure, just ensure that you're having this ID, because if you don't have this ID, therefore means you're going to find yourself deleting everything. So ensure that you're saying that it is where the ID is equals to ID, so that you only delete the selected record. So after that, we can get to the browser, try to get to the education page, that should be refreshed, and then we try to delete the last record here. So delete, and it has been deleted, only that we are not able to get the message. This is because we have not yeah, the session is there. Why is it not? Oh, sorry, we have not included the message, which is this message here. So I'm just going to grab these two because they are the same, and so I'm just going to change the names here. So I'll hold Alt and select this. I can delete that, and I'm going to call this the success. Wait a minute, oh yeah, the issue is here. So this should be the success, and this one should be the fail. So delete failed. Hope that is the name that I have used. Yeah, so therefore means that if we now try to delete any other record, so say for example the last one here again, delete. Okay, the message still not appearing. This success. So sorry. That's why it's important to just copy it, because sometimes you make a mistake typing error. Right, so refresh that and delete. Yeah, and now we can see deleted successfully. So that's working fine there. So therefore means that now the education.php page is complete. We can be able to add a record. We can be able to edit a record, and we can be able to delete it. So that's working fine. So we can now proceed on to the next one, which will be experience. It will be the same, but the moment you just do this repeatedly, the more you get to understand it, and the higher chances of you understanding this very quickly. So we'll be repeating this for each and every one of these. So the grants, the skills, the project, the services, yeah, and of course now the last one will be the login system.